Good evening and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tier 2 for the Hungarian Grand Prix in Budapest. What a lovely iconic circuit, and it's provided us with some great entertainment before in its past history. And hopefully we get the same here tonight with an 80-minute qualifying session and a 36-lap race ahead of us. My name is Indigo, and alongside me tonight is the Tier 4 driver, is Simo.
Good evening, how are we?
I'm good, yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good, sir. All good. All ready for this new season. Unfortunately, I wasn't here last week. However, I'm back now.
Nice to see you back, Simo. We had a lot of action last week as well at the Mexican Grand Prix. It was a brilliant race, and hopefully we can see some more of it too. Is the man that unfortunately had another spin at the Mexican Grand Prix, as per Belly in the chat says he might have fixed his wheel issues. So hopefully he has, because Xenon has got some potential. We've seen it plenty of times. I've said it plenty of times, and I wish I stopped saying that, because it's a shame for Xenon, because all the potential has been thrown away. Good points have been lost by both Ferrari drivers, but Mills has been a bit more consistent than his own teammates. So let's see then, has Xenon finally put his critics to bed and see, can he try and produce something special here in Hungary? It is a difficult track, of course, so don't blame him for spinning on this one, but we'll see what happens as he starts a flying lap very shortly as we make our way now towards turn 14 and turn 15, the final two corners before he starts a lap.
Yes, yeah. It's unfortunate for him in the past few races in which I've seen. However, hopefully he has got that issue sorted, and all the best for this qualifying session and race.
As we ride on board with Xenon, and as he heads down towards turn 1, braking on the 100-meter board, scuffing off all the speed as we head down towards turn 1. Doesn't really hit the apex there as he exits turn number 1. A lovely traction as we head down towards turn 2, breaking the 50-meter board down to the gears. He goes into 4th as he locks up all the way to the corner. That's very strange to see a lock up all the way through there, as he was on the brakes for quite a long time, unloading his left front tyre as he climbs up towards turn 4. Now 26.8 as Martin has joined the session as we exit or enter turn 5 into 5th gear, use a bit of overtake at the exit of the corner. Now making our way through the chicane we go, as he uses quite a lot of it as he missed the first part but hooked it up in the second part. Now this little sensor here, constant change of direction as you want to be counting the speed through here as well, pointing the car in the right directions, as good speed through here in turn 11 at 53.2 in the middle sensor as he makes his way down towards this slow right-hander as he gets back on the throttle. Once again uses all the curve on the exit as we make our way now towards the left hand we go. We see plenty of people lose traction through here because the tyres can be very hard at that stage as well. A lot of energy, a lot of force has been put in those tyres, and they take the punishment towards the end as he has the DRS wide open then, ready to complete a flying lap time. It's a 40.5 for Xenon, and let's see, will that stick there?
Absolute flying over lap there. Unfortunately, I was just watching, I think it was one of the Hasses who invalidated as Lord Brad, the top G, comes through into P3 on the mediums, who's now been bumped down to P4 as Yarham comes into provisional pole position with a 1:14.0. What an absolute flyer of a lap from all of these guys at this moment in time.
Indeed, then. So, Johan with a 40.0. I remember him taking pole last season, but he spun and he put that to bed as well, because there was also Johan and Mazzino had their moments. Those two were the ones always spinning in the race, but Johan sorted it out, whereas Xenon's still yet to find his true form and pace. Caspino in the kickstart, but then unfortunately retired after getting in the wall in the middle sector at the S section in Mexico. So let's see if Caspino continue with his good pace, because he has got good pace. He made his appearance back at the Hungary Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Division 1 last season, as he was close to getting on the podium but broke his wing at turn 14 and had to make a pit stop and fall all the way down the order as he Mills goes up into P4. Alex Copo is in P3. The man almost took pole back in the Mexican Grand Prix, currently in P3, as Burmeister Oliver herself for P5 and P6 in the Williams. Both continue to be close together, but they're separated by 5/10 of a second as Caspino has a massive slide out of turn 12, headed down towards this right-hander we go in the breaker zone as we see them back to the top once again. Caspino looks like he was just buffering a bit. What's the word called? He was like bogged down because I think he's running medium traction control, so couldn't get the power as quickly as he would have wanted. So here's Caspino then out of the final corner. See what his first lap time is. Goes to P5 just behind him, Mills.
Yeah, I was just watching Adams on there as well. It's a really tidy lap from both of them there. And hopefully they can improve on their second and maybe third runs from when they go through there. It's a once you get the nice flow of the track and you can understand it and try not to make any mistakes, it's a really nice and satisfying lap. But it's just hard. You've got to be so careful on some of the exits that you don't go too far over, and that's when you invalidate your lap, and that's where I picked most of my penalties up yesterday from the race yesterday.
Yeah, penalties are real brutal around the circuit as Madsson now makes his way towards the line, goes up into P7 just behind his old championship rival of Burmeister. Talk about Burmeister, he won the Mexican Grand Prix last time. I believe he started down in 9th place or 7th at the time because his qualifying hasn't been great at all. But Burmeister always tends to pick it up in the Grand Prix. He has better race pace than his qualifying pace, and Lord Alem is back. If you remember, this man won the Australian Grand Prix, making his one and only appearance last season, and he's back. Is the man from Pakistan. So let's see what he does. Then it's makes his way down towards chicane. He goes. He had great pace back in Australia, but only turned up once, and that was it. But let's see then what he could do on his debut back, and see if the Alpine has got some good pace. I believe the last game was 2023. Maybe that could have been. Maybe that's when we could have last saw him, so that's probably see what his pace is like on this game. Apologies if you hear me struggling to speak. I'm holding back a cough. I am really ill, and I'm just been coughing up quite a lot, and my voice isn't as it's supposed to be. So here comes Lord Alem now around the final corner as he gets back on the power with the DRS wide open. Let's see what the RP driver could do. He goes up into P13 just behind Veloci Ayoub Jr. in P12. And Veloci Ayoub Jr. is also one to watch out for as well, because sometimes on his day, I remember him in a different league where I used to commentate over him. He had decent pace, but made the wrong strategy calls from time to time, especially back in Mexico when he did the, I think it was a two-shot strategy, and it didn't work out for him at all in that race.
No, it was a shame really for him, but it's nice to see him back, and hopefully he can settle back down and try and fight for some podiums and that. As I'm just watching Lord Brad now, he's just coming on, finishing his out lap to go onto the first flyer of a lap now. He's gone back onto the soft tyres, so he's no longer on the mediums in which he set that original lap time, so hopefully we can see what he does as he comes down into turn 1 now. Gets a nice apex to the back end of the car, just slides out there. That will hurt him a little bit. Hopefully he can make up for the rest of the lap. Still pushing as we break down into this corner here. Again, another hard braking zone, however it's not as hard as the first corner as we come through into which is my favourite section of the track. It's a nice fast flowing section as we go for a 27.0 for that first sector, which is faster than what it was as we come up towards flying around this right hand corner as we come up towards the chicane now. There's right and then left coming out, getting nice and wide onto the curb, going around this nice fast section as we bogs down a little bit there, but not too much. Clips the grass a little bit, keeps his foot pinned as it goes wide, and he invalidates it unfortunately. He was nearly a second up on his time there. He just went too wide on that corner on the exit and unfortunately invalidated his lap there.
Yeah, that fast right-hander didn't take the right line through there as he cut the corner, and that caused him to understeer and go off the track and invalidate his lap time. So, Lord Brad the Top G, in 14th place, his best lap time on the mini compound tyre. So he does have a reference, but unfortunately, he just can't seem to hook it up. And Sonic Hawk says he misses racing. And also, Sonic Hawk, if you remember last season, you won this Grand Prix. You won and only win last season, and you won and only podium too. So, yeah, I understand why you miss it. Gary Vickers, Matt G is in the chat. Nice to see him here as always. I think he is the Division 3 driver. I think he is anyway. And his result, he finished P18, unfortunately, at the Hungary. He finished last of the Hungarian Grand Prix yesterday, so he'll be one to forget about this race. But Electro Dan is started to open up a lap time as Joachim and Caspino and Mills and Burmeister are out there. As Electro Dan then, as he heads down towards turn 1 we go. Let's see them braking very hard, scrub all the speed into third gear, cuts the apex in towards turn 1. Not many people do that nowadays, but still gets a good exit as we make our way down towards turn 2 we go. Looking at the braking point, down to the gears in third or fourth, depends on your preference, but back on the start immediately as soon as the car is straight up, flat out through the right hander. Now we're going uphill towards turn 4 we go. Let's see then how much speed he carries to here. Downshift into 6, no need to dab on the brakes. as he heads down towards turn 5. This corner is a bit like Spain at turn number 11 or 12, that right-hander, because if you touch it, you end up guaranteed spinning as well, so you don't want to touch that corner. As Veloci Ayob Jr. goes up into P3 in the RB with a 40.6. That's a good lap time there from the RB driver. Can he stay there? But we've got other people competing on a flying lap too, as Electro Dan heads towards this right-hander. We go in 6th gear, kind of a lot of speed at 52.9. Of course, he hasn't got a lap time, so we can't really compare it to his best. Looks like a decent lap time brewing for Electro Dan. Can he keep it nice and tidy in the final two corners? Because the car, as Burmeister goes up into P2 with a 14.5, and now Xenom is up into P2 with a 14.4, and then Mills goes up into P2 with a 14.4. Electro Dan goes up into P2 with a 14.3. How many people went up into P2 in the space of about 5-10 seconds?
There's about three, 4 people there. It just goes to show how quick everyone is in this division. Everyone's pushing themselves to the limit, hence why we're seeing such a close final race of the season last season. And yeah, everyone's just all up there. They've got themselves together, they get composed and make sure there's no distractions. As we see Mansell, Division 2's world champion last year, coming up towards the final corner, getting nice and close to that pit wall, but not just close too much that he can get the collision, as he goes up into P11 still with a 1:15.0. So he's struggling. He's not as close to Burmeister as he's like, unfortunately, unless he's having a little bit of an issue with his setup there, and hopefully he's got enough time to do another lap.
Yeah, Mansell, his qualifying hasn't been that great, but his race pace is better. If you remember the Mexican Grand Prix last week, that his race pace was much better. As Lord Alem goes 6 tenths up in his full set. So let's see if we can go a bit of lag spike there for the RP driver as he makes his way towards the final corners. He goes. Let's see. His main target is to get himself inside the top 10, but can he find more time? Headed towards this final corner he goes. 5 minutes left in this session, so all the drivers will have enough time to try and set a lap time, a good lap time, as Lord Alem goes up into P13, so displaces Oliver. I lost about 2 tenths in the final set, did Lord Alem, but there's still 5 minutes left to go in this session. Top G goes up into P11, then just ahead of Mansell in the Aston Martin. So Top G and Mansell, and I dare say Adams as well, Mindful Wasp, those guys down there really struggling here at this technical, difficult track. But they've still got 5 minutes to see where they can improve. Can those two, or can those guys down there find a time to improve to get themselves close inside of the top 10? Most of our competitors are in the pit lane. Not quite sure who's on a lap. I think, yeah, both Mercedes on a lap time, as we saw a fantastic battle between Rosberg and Hamilton back in 2014. I believe Rosberg went for a 3-stop strategy. Hamilton went for a 2. Hamilton was ordered to let his teammate go, but he didn't, as those two there scrapped away for P3, as Hamilton started from the pit lane that day after his engine blew up in qualifying, and Rosberg to a pole, but the strategy didn't go his way, as Ricciardo was the one to win the Grand Prix. His second win in Formula 1, as Neymar has spun, and
Atlas Copo did the same as well. Both Mercedes spun when they was on the lap there. Unfortunately, they both spun around and caught the curb a bit too much on those corners.
The curbs are so lethal, brutally lethal around here, so you can be very careful how you attack the corners, because the curbs are not your friends. Depends what type of curbs they are. But here's Martin climbing up towards now the entry of turn 4. 6 tenths up, but we know his lap time is not really competitive, so let's see then how he's going to do coming towards now turn 5, heading towards this chicane. We go turn 6 and turn 7. Going to make sure you keep it nice and tidy here as he uses all the track on the exit, dips the wheel on the grass even, as he has a bit of understeer going through those corners because of a bit of debris, not giving him the full grip he needs to try and carry the speed to the corners here as he enters now the right-hander, using the outside curb to get the launch he needs. Martin, 5 tenths up in the middle sector he goes, as he almost invalidates there in turn 13, but luckily keeps it within the white lines as he makes his way now towards the double left, this left-hander we go. The penultimate corner before we head towards the final corner where we saw Alex Albon crash back in 2019 and wrecked his qualifying. Here comes Martin now coming towards the line. He's going to go up into P16 still, so he hasn't improved, but he has improved his lap time.
Yeah, it was such a shame there for Martin. However, Oliver's coming up towards the final corner, keeping the car tame as he can as he slams out DRS wide open. Can he improve here? P13 there for Oliver. So he is just behind Mansell there, as we see that Mansell is on an out lap. However, there are some others who are just about to start their lap, as we have Kluser who is just about to start a lap now. He's just warming those tyres up before he goes for one more final push here.
Klusler, the harsh driver of Klusler, he has done a mega job last season in the Red Bull alongside Alex Copo. Alex Copo and Klusler were very consistent in terms of being inside the top 10, always providing those decent results. Now they've been separated, one's in the Merc and the other one is in the Haas. But I dare say Joachim and Klusler are a good strong lineup. I'll let you down a Mansell as well, but it all depends if they get it right on their day. Klusler heads towards turn number 1 now as he breaks down to third gear, as he takes a wide angle going through there, not taking a cute angle to try and open the exit of turn 1 to carry more speed as we head down towards turn 2. Then 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go on the clock for everybody else to try and see if they can demote Joachim off pole. There's his Haas teammate right in front of him, but a toe is probably useless around here, as Klusler is a 10th of the first set. So that's a good improvement already as he gets super close with Chalmers on the exit of turn 4. Now headed to turn 5 and saw Yuki Tsunoda crash last season in 2024 as we make our way towards the chicane. He goes, nice use of the curb there, rides over it, and Sergio Perez crashed here back in 2024. I'm not quite sure how he crashed there, but he also, I think, crashed in the next corner at this corner right here, the turn, this right-hander, where he crashed in the McLaren in 2013. And he also crashed in the exit of here too, back in 2015. So Perez has a lot of crashes around here, and then at turn 1 with Pastor Maldonado, so not really been a good track for Sergio Perez. Crashed here quite a lot and ruined his races, as now we see Klusler coming towards the final corner. Here he goes, and let's see, where can he put his car? Can he get himself close to his teammate as he makes the beam now a 40.8, and he stays in P9, improved by a 10th of a second, and I dare say qualifying is over for him.
I was just going to say, I've just been watching Mansell. He's on an absolute flyover lap there. He went purple sector 2, and then all of a sudden he just slammed on the brakes. Coming up towards the final couple of corners, so I don't know what was going on there. He ain't going to have enough ERS to do another lap, however he's still going to push for it and see if he can do the least amount of ERS that he can. I don't.
Second intermediate split.
Yes, purple wasn't it?
Was he up or down? Because sometimes there's a glitch.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he was up by a little bit, so he might have just backed out there.
And so going for a second lap with compromised with no ERS as we see the two Ferraris, they're making their way towards the final corner. They go. Canzino boosts himself up the order as he opens the DRS as he crosses the line now. P2 for him in the Ferrari despite being a 10th down in the first sector. Mills stays where he is in P4. That's qualifying over for him. Electro Dan's backed off. That's qualifying done and dusted. Joachim is going for his last flying lap with low ERS. So he also must have made the same mistake as Mansell. But Veloci Jr. in the RB goes a bit out wide and unfortunately invalidates his lap time. Caspino up to P7 as the Aston Martin goes past him. That's Mansell. Oliver Dani P14 down in the sector by a few hundredths of a second. That's not looking good for the Williams driver. Neither is Adams, who's backed off in the pit lane. Martin.
Yeah, he spun out of the final couple of corners and damaged his front wing.
I think somebody else has gone for a spin down there turn 2 on the full map. Looks like an Alpine driver. In fact, it's old Adam. He's crashed at turn 2. It was him. So it was an RP driver. He's gone and he's out of the session.
Which is a shame for him, as we are on board with a Mercedes driver now of Neymar Ming, I think. Excuse me if I say that wrong. However, it comes and past the line. It goes into P6 now with a 114.4 there. So it's amazing to see how many drivers are on those 14.3s and 14.4s at the moment in time, and just see how close the grid is together at this moment in time.
Indeed, there's a Joachim having a pendulum towards his way as he's on a flying lap, but he's backed off, so he won't improve, but he'll still be on pole. Great lap time, great qualifying for Joachim. Last time he raced in Hungary, he took pole, but unfortunately spun on the first lap, so he'll be hoping that doesn't happen again. But Xenium as well in P2 has got a lot to prove, because we know the man's got some great pace, but I presume he's running a time trial setup. The problem with Xenium is the fact that I think he treats every single lap as a qualifying lap. It just pushes a bit too hard and beyond the limits, and therefore the car, he just slides around so much with the tyres overheating, doesn't have the grip, doesn't adapt to the situation, and that's probably why Xenium is spinning. He doesn't realise that everyone knows that qualifying and the race trim is much different, but in terms of Xenium, I think he pushes too hard every single lap in the Grand Prix, so So I think he's still trying to process that as he goes towards every single race he does.
Yeah, I think most people sort of sometimes have that mindset. I know I do sometimes. And you just try and push and push and push each lap to try and make as many places as you can. But unfortunately, it's not always the way because, like you say, you have your tyre wear and that as well.
There are your results then. It's Jarholm on pole, ahead of Zenon by 0.3 of a second. 2.5 sorry. Look how close it was between those guys there. Electro Dan in P3. Great qualifying Electro Dan in P3 ahead of him. Burmeister in P5. Last week's race winner. Neymar is in P6 ahead of Veloci L Jr. Caspino is 8th ahead of Atlas Copo. Klusler's in P10. Lord Alum in the P11 ahead of Top G. Mansell 30th place. Oliver Adams, Martin and Michael Wass. Michael Wass did not start or did not set a qualifying lap, so I presume he must have had a qualifying ban. But Mansell says that he's oversteering everywhere. So, yeah, he's not liking the setup of the car whatsoever.
No, it's. He did say to me yesterday that he didn't have much practice of this track. I think he's just going to put his foot down and just see what he can do in this race today.
Let's see what happens as Burmeister to the victory after disappointing qualifying in Mexico. Jarholm, it looks like he was going his own way until Burmeister caught up in the last stages. It was a great fight between the two as Jarholm could not challenge Burmeister in the last lap as he made a mistake, and Burmeister won the Grand Prix ahead of Jarholm. And third place came Atlas Copo to score his first podium too, as Atlas Copo is looking really strong for the time being. I think he only had about one podium last season. Did Atlas Copo? He had three, sorry, that was Klusler who had one podium last season. His teammate Atlas Copo back then had 3 podiums, so he was looking really strong. In fact, the gap between Atlas Copo and Klusler was only 1 point. That's how close it was in the Red Bull camp towards the end. 301 for Atlas Copo and 300 for Klusler. So it was mega close throughout the Red Bulls throughout the whole season, but Atlas Copo just had the better of him as he scored more podiums than him. Let's see then what happens going towards this Grand Prix. Apologies about my voice tonight. It is not as the best it could be with this cold going on. The flu, I've been coughing all day, every day, and yesterday as well when I was commentating. So that's why my voice is a bit weird today if it sounds a bit off, but hopefully it can get well soon. And I know every single time I'm ill, always in the winter. I hate winter so much. I can't wait for the summer to come.
I was going to say, it'd be amazing for when the summer comes. However, from my room upstairs, it's like the heat. It's just like a greenhouse. It's lovely and cold downstairs. Come upstairs, open my bedroom door, that's it. Heat just hits you, and it's just like you're in a Sahara desert. But I'm just waiting for it all to load up. Be interesting to see who's got the pace today. Hopefully Zenon can undo his curse of spinning. It'd be really, really nice to see how he can get on. Obviously, Atlas Copo, he's looking fast as well, and you got few drivers a little bit out of place, like Oliver and Mansell. As we know, they can be really quick. However, Burmeister again, he's on pace, he's on point, and hopefully he's going to try and push himself for a second win in the row, as he did win in Mexico last round. Yeah. So we're getting ready for the formation lap, and we have Jarholm on pole position, who is going to start and get everybody round on this formation lap, get the tyres warm, get all the preparations in which they need to. So let's just get everything up. Everybody is on the mediums apart from Oliver, so it's quite a strong tyre selection. Everyone's wanting to go for it and go all out and not get too mixed up with some strategies. However, it'd be interesting to see how Oliver does on the hards. He's obviously trying to make up some time and try and get himself up there whilst everyone starts to drop off on the mediums. However, we did see how strong the medium tyre runners were yesterday in the Division 4 race, which I did know because I qualified in P10 and I had an absolute flyer of a start. I was really happy with that, and I was running P5 for a couple of laps. However, we are coming towards the end of the formation lap now, as we have the RB of Vilos, I think it is. Excuse me again if I pronounce that wrong. He was disqualified right at the start of the formation lap, as we now have Burma to line himself up onto the grid, and he's going to be waiting for everybody else all the way down to P17 of Mindful Wasp, and everyone's going to get themselves ready into these grid positions.
All 17 drivers line up on the grid then, as we're going to wait the lights as the last driver of the Alpine Mindful Wasp lines up on the grid as Mansell has disqualified himself, parked in the wrong location in his grid box there. We've seen that plenty of times. Got to get it absolutely spot on to get those extra few 100 meters, or sorry, not 100, but yeah. Here are the lights then, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It looks like Zeno has got a good start, but has massive wheels, but in second place. Here goes Burmeister, takes on the Ferrari, and now Electro Dan as he goes down the inside in towards turn one. Veloci AF Jr. says on the inside, and he's tapped Zeno. Zeno spins this time, but it's not his fault. And down the order he goes, and both Ferraris have spun. Down they go, 16th and 17th there. An optimistic move from Veloci AF Jr. came down in towards turn one, trying to overtake a lot of people, but outbroke himself and took out 2 or 3 people in the process. Mansell's up into P9 now as he continues to fight away with the RB driver. Adams up into P10 inside the top 10 as Klusler gets shown off the track as the Sauber now looking to go down the inside. That's top G. He's lost a few places as Oliver now gets the better of him as he puts himself into P12. Not yet though, because that Sauber is still there, and now he backs off as Caspino goes down the order. Something's happened to him. He gets pushed down into P9 now, does the Danish Sauber driver. So let's see then, can he get himself back in shape? But that's a shame for 2 Ferraris, because this time it wasn't his fault and he got spun by somebody else.
Yeah, it's such a shame there. They had absolute flyers of the start, and they just got caught out that little bit there from the start. However, it's not all lost. They can soon catch back up with the pack, and they can use each other for DRS and try and catch back up and make a charge through the field again.
Yeah, I feel so bad for both Ferrari drivers there. I saw them both spin simultaneously going down towards turn one. The RB was unfortunately counted all the chickens at once, and he took out 2 people. And yeah, let's see what happens after the Grand Prix then. It was a very optimistic move there from Veloci Jr. because he was changing direction quite a lot, trying to overtake a lot of people at once. They say the first lap is critical. Definitely proved it, but he's still down in P7 then, so despite all that, he stayed where he started in 7th place. Lord Aylon from start at 11th up to P6, Ellis Coper from P9 to P5, Mansell from 13th to 8th behind Veloci AF Jr. Caspinas lost 1 place after his spin, or half spin, whatever happened to him on the last lap. Adams from P15 to P10 then, so good start from him. And the most lost, unfortunately, is Zenum and Emils down in P16 and P17 there, so that's the biggest losers, but I dare say it's not their fault because they both got spun around, of course. So let's see then, plenty of laps left to go and a safety car could be deployed, so let's see then if those Ferrari drivers can make a big recovery. But I know those 2 will be absolutely frustrated there with great qualifying pace, but unfortunately not due to their own fault this time, have been spun around.
Absolutely, 100%. It's a shame there as Yaham again sets another fastest lap there. As we have Mindful Wasp all over the back of the Kick Sauber of Lord Brad Top G. However, Martin gets that overrunner speed as well. He doesn't quite make the move stick. However, Mindful Wasp is that little bit closer now as he gets another boost of that DRS as we come down into turn 3, I think, or 4. I don't know. I'm not too great with the track map. However, he's still keeping within that second, and he's keeping it under that half a second as well, which is crucial, so he doesn't have to use as much DRS.
And Jarholm extends the gap over Electro Dan. The gap is over 1 second now between those two. So he's broken the DRS, but only slightly though, because the gap is 1.1. And on the last lap, Burmeister had a massive moment coming out the final corner. He lost a lot of time towards Electro Dan, and that's how Neymar got past him going down towards turn 1. So that big mistake, unfortunately, had big consequences there for Burmeister. He got put down to P4, and now it could be under pressure by Les Coper from behind as well. I remember last season where Burmeister didn't particularly have a strong race either after he spun at turn 5. So this track hasn't really been Great for him, but maybe, let's see then, will it be change? Will his look change in this Grand Prix? As we head to lap 4, then DRS wide open again, as in the background, it looks like Lord Abrams under massive pressure from Veloci Jr. As we see the Mercedes gain and again and use the overtake, as we make our way down towards turn 1. He doesn't go for a move, he's too far behind to do so, not going to go for any sort of crazy move, especially on the 4th lap in the early stages. Don't want to lose it all, especially with being broken up a DRS train in this phase. But Mansell's close to the back of Veloci Jr. goes out widest towards turn 2. Let's see if that compromises him in towards 3. He goes, as Mansell will have a better exit, but obviously Mansell is not close enough to make a move up towards turn 4.
I was going to say Mansell's just closing. He's just sitting there behind that RB and just hoping that he can pressure him into a mistake, as Xenon now has a 3-second time penalty there, which is such a shame for the Ferrari driver. He's not having the best of luck today. However, hopefully he can try and claw himself back without making any more mistakes. Caspino is all over the back of Mansell. I don't know where this pace has just suddenly come from. He was a little bit further back. However, now he's just running a little bit wide and he is closing and closing on Mansell. However, they don't want to push too far, in which they compromise both of their races at this moment in time.
Indeed, and Electro Dan is frustrated on the DRS range of Joachim. The gap keeps lingering between 1 second and 1.2. What is he got to do to get himself in DRS range? He has the battery to use, try and claw himself and edge himself closer towards Joachim. So will he do that? Will he try and sacrifice a bit of battery? And once he does catch up, or if he catches up towards Joachim, put him back in medium and try and regenerate the battery, try to overtake him later in the Grand Prix. But Electro Dan, the gap is 1.2. I dare say he needs to use a bit more ERS to get himself in the DRS range and try and save up energy that way, because otherwise it can be very difficult to get himself back in the DRS range of Yahoo, who keeps pulling away, extending the gap over second place, Electro Dan.
Absolutely, it's always frustrating when you get it to that gap and you can see it, you're there or thereabouts, and you try and push, you get close, and then all of a sudden he pushes more, and then you lose out on that time, and it's always frustrating. As Lord Allen now, he is really close to the back of the Mercedes of Atlas Coppa now. Obviously everyone's going to struggle that little bit more. They don't want to use that ERS all of the time at this moment, because they're all being at DRS train and they'll be pulling each other along. However, everyone is still bunched up, which is nice to see that no one's pulling away, and you don't really see these groups at this moment in time. However, it'd be nice to see if we can get some overtakes going, as Veloci had a really nice exit out of the final corner there as he goes all the way up towards the back of Lord Allen. He doesn't quite make the move happen, closes really right up onto that first corner. However, I don't think he's going to get the move done, as Mansell is just staying with him again. As you can see, that Mansell's just starting to pull away from Caspino. Burmeister goes past Atlas Coppa. Can he make the move stick? I think Atlas Coppa is trying to make that move back, as we do have a yellow flag. I think it's one of the Mercedes and Ferraris of Mills, I think it is. I think he just spun out of the first corner. I think he just took too much curb there.
Zeno spun on the last lap and now Mills spun, so double disaster there for Ferrari, a race to forget, and he's broken his end plate too, unfortunately for the Ferrari driver there, so a trip to the pits is necessary. However, we saw Burmeister compromised as he was side by side with Atlas Coppa in towards turn 1, but I think Atlas Coppa had to bail out the move because the VSC came at the wrong time for him. Otherwise Coppa would have been up to P4 by now behind his Mercedes teammate, as Neymar has built a gap over 1 second ahead of Burmeister.
Yeah, just want to point out as well, I've just read Gareth Ficker's comment on the stream, not forgetting about Oliver on those hard tyres. He's keeping up with everyone, and he's making them work, and he's making this strategy work, as we see Lord Brad Top G coming into the pits. Got Mansell, Brad G and the Alpine and RB are all coming into the pits. I think they're going to try and make the hard tyres last to the end.
There'll be a long stretch, but the hardcore pad tyres are durable, of course, so they can take them towards the end, but they'll have to pay the price later on. Let's see if that strategy works for them, as Lord Alem has almost overtaken Atlas Coppa, but I think Coppa just defended there to put himself back into P5, continue the hunt to get Burmeister in P4 as Caspina now puts pressure on Adams for P7. Adams has dropped out of the DRS range because the guys ahead of him pitted, so it did split up the train there, and unfortunately for Adams then becomes the leader of this group, and Caspina will have the run of him going down towards table to open up the DRS. But however, Joachim is doing a mega job in first place, keeping the gap over a second there to make sure that Electro Dan does not sneak into the DRS range and stay on the back of it on the whole race. So he's got a bit of breathing space there between himself and Electro Dan, but can't afford to rest because he knows Electro Dan will try and capitalise every single moment he can. The gap keeps fluctuation between those top two there. Neymar is 1.7 seconds behind Electro Dan as well, so let's see if he can catch up towards Electro Dan. But Neymar has done a fantastic job so far in P3, but he's under massive pressure from Copo, his own teammate, and Burmeister as well. Here comes the Williams driver of Oliver right behind as he's on the hardcore pod tyres, like Maggi pointed out, as we head down towards turn 1 up the inside. Just to make it stick, he goes out wide, but he should have the DRS there, which he does, and the racing line as he stays ahead for the time being of Caspino, and his hardcore pod tyres as well should come into play right now as the medium starts to drop away slightly.
Absolutely, I noticed yesterday the medium tyres have started to drop away around about this point in time, and this is where you do notice that the hard tyres, they come into their own sort of play, and they just start to gel really well with the track, which is good. It's nice to see that Oliver is taking advantage of this now. You're sort of seeing everybody in front of him starting to struggle on those used mediums, and his hard tyres are starting to come into play, and you will notice a difference on those new hard tyres as well, and how well they last as well.
I think Velocio Jr. and Manso will probably get the undercut on your home. Remember that virtual safety car has paid dividends for them because it reduces the deficit. The race increases by about 40% race time. Sorry, as you can see, Adams has a massive snap again. That was twice in the same corner as Oliver now pulls to the left hand side as he puts himself into P7 ahead of them. Clown, an easy move there for Oliver as Klusler now puts himself into P9. Something happens to Klusler as they both go out wide, and here comes the Alpine. That's Mindful Wasp taking advantage of the Sauber. The next up is the Haas as we head down towards turn 3. He's bold and brave on the brakes around the outside of turn 2 as they tag wheels as we exit turn 2 towards turn 3 we go. Klusler just stays ahead, but Mindful Wasp was looking to take advantage of both of them that went deep in towards turn 1.
I was going to say, really fair racing as there's another yellow flag. I'm trying to see who that is. That
Martin.
is Martin. Yeah, Martin's gone round, which is a shame. However, that was such a really nice move there from Mindful Wasp. You seen him, he was going to come up onto turn 1 on the back of Caspino, and he made the move work really well. And it's just a shame that it didn't quite get Klusser as well. However, I reckon that might be his next plan to do as he goes makes have a thought down the inside. However, he's going to understand that he's got DRS coming up in a minute, and he's going to make that move easy down onto the home straight, hopefully.
The gap was 22 seconds between Velocio Jr. and Joachim. Now it's 19.3. You can definitely tell the hardcore power tyres are coming to effect. So Joachim will be undercutted, but for him, he'll be on a brand new set of hardcore power tyres and be hunting them down when the pit stop starts coming to play, as Lord Alem, I think, got past Oliver, or he's defending from Oliver, who has a massive slide, as Lord Alem teleports a bit, going down towards turn 2. They go, is so close between those two there. Wheel-to-wheel racing as we head now towards turn 3. Let's see if they keep it nice and clean. It's going to be so close as Oliver swoops around the outside and has the trust in Lord Alem not to make contact, and he gave him space as well, which is always respectful. Great racing between those two.
100% there, as Mindful Wasp did make the move stick against Klusser, who he's now into P9 overall at this moment in time, as Martin's retired. He's just pulled into the pit lane. It's just a shame. Obviously the race wasn't going how he wanted to, but it's not nice to see when they pull into the pit lane and retire from there.
And Gareth says that the hard compound tyres are the better tyres at this stage. He is correct. The medium compound tyres now start to reach the end of their peak performance. I did a race around here in Hungary, and when the medium start to fade away, they're not a nice tyre whatsoever. You've got to be very careful on how you manage the slide as well. But going into braking zones, be very careful with the rear lock-in, the sliding through the mid-speed, high-speed corners, and also traction is a very poor one as well. So you got to be very careful how you manage that. As Adams gets past Lord Alum, but here comes Alum now, back on Adams. But as we go wheel to wheel on this second straight, headed down towards turn 2, Adams get the jump, and he's past Alum there. That's a bit of a tongue twister between those two, Alum and Adam.
Absolutely. They both had DRS on that second stretch. As Lord Alam, he had the boost, he had a nice exit out of there. However, Adams just had that little bit more oomph on from his car, and he kept himself ahead into P7 at this point.
Can't wait to see how the strategy pans out between Velocio Junior, Mansell, and Lord Brother Top G. Those three that stopped during the virtual safety car. Those three that stopped during the first virtual safety car have now pitted on the hard compound tyres, and they can take them towards the end, but very risky from there. So it could be a two-stop strategy. I'm not quite sure how dramatic the hards will fall off towards the end, because they've got to do about majority of the race of them. So let's see if it works out for Lochiev Junior, man. So I'll be very interested to do so, but they'll definitely lead the Grand Prix once these guys have headed off into the pit lane to do their mandatory pit stop. The gap was 22 seconds about a few laps ago. Now it's 17.2, so the gap is definitely coming down as Oliver now puts himself to P5. It's really flying on those hard compound tyres as he muscles his way past now the Mercedes driver, and the next target for him is Burmeister's own teammate, who's putting pressure on Neymar. Klusler has pitted, and now he's going to go to hard compound tyres. Mansell gets past Velocio Jr., but I dare say those two can't afford to scrap. They need to make sure they utilise the hard compound tyres what they have now, try and get a gap, build that gap, and we'll see what happens towards the end. Mansell in P11 ahead of Velocio Jr. Follow each other in the DRS range, and I'm really sorry, by the way, I can't speak at all today. My voice keeps going and I wanted to cough every single time, so my apologies. I'm just barely surviving.
Yeah, that's all good, don't worry. Yeah, I was going to say, these two, they don't really want to fight that much. They want to use each other to pull themselves back in to the back of Caspino, and hopefully they come into that range where everyone thinks, tyres are going, I want to pit now. So they can try and get themselves up there, hopefully build enough gap to everyone who's currently on the mediums, and just try and get to that point in time, so when their hard tyres do start to fall off, they won't be hurt as much. As Atlas Copo comes into the pits now, and so does Lord Alan and Caspino. They're all starting to make that pits now, as they are obviously starting to struggle on those medium tyres. Maggi says if Ollie can make them last, then he is looking good for a high finish. Absolutely, 100%. If he can push them further than what he can and make that stint on the medium tyres as short as he possibly can, then he has got high chances of finishing high up within the order, which would be good for Ollie. Obviously, he joined Div 2 mid-season last year, and from what I can remember, he has really good race pace, and it'd be nice to see him carry on and continue to use that easy. He's now all over the back of his teammate of Burmeister as they come up round towards the final corner, as Burmeister slings into the pits on that right hand side. So now that brings Oliver up into P4, so now he is within the 1 second range of Neymar. I believe he's got DRS, and he's up into P3 now, all over the back of Neymar into pit turn 1 now. He's going to have that another second set of DRS. However, he does have that little bit of a slide out of the first corner, so he's not quite there. However, he is within that range of where he can pounce as and when, but obviously not going too far as to wearing his tyres out as much as he doesn't want to, and possibly causing himself to sling off of the track.
Johan, Neymar and Adams are yet to pit in this Grand Prix to get off those medium compound tyres and go towards the halls. So it'll be Mansell Well, Oliver, actually, Mansell, Velocity Jr., those guys will now take the lead of the Grand Prix to the top three. As we know that the hardcore power tires can go towards the end, but the question is, though, Johan, Neymar, and Adams, well, did those guys have the pace to try and catch up later on in the Grand Prix? They'll get undercutted, but they should have the tyre advantage, massive tyre advantage, and therefore the pendulum should
As they should have advantage and go on for a podium, possibly if they can make those hard tyres work. As Johan now, the race leader, Johan, Neymar and Adams all pull into the pits, so now that brings Oliver into the lead of this Grand Prix. Mansell in second and Veloz into P3. So everyone now who pitted before them is now all moved up into those podium positions, and they're going to hope that they can make that gap stick and pull as far away from the likes of Johan in this moment in time.
20 laps left to go. Johan, Electro Dan, Lord Aiden with the 3-second penalty. Let's go. Burmeister will have to hunt down the likes of Mansell, Velocity Jr. and Lord by the top G. Those trio that pitted under the VSC. And we'll see. They'll definitely have the pace to catch them. But let's see, can Mansell and Velocity Jr. survive towards the end? I'm not quite sure, because the tyres will be hitting rock bottom, and therefore the guys behind will have a huge advantage. Only 8 laps difference, and there's a mistake there from Alex Copo as he locked his rear tyres going in towards the chicane, and Burmeister almost collected him too, so could have ended both their races there, but luckily didn't, and now Kluslayer is on the back of him.
Yeah, Kluslayer is all over the back of Burmeister now, as we also have Neymar all over the back of Kluslayer. They've just got to try and plan this attack out now. Obviously they don't want to take each other out at this moment in time. They want to try and make the race moves stick, as Electro down goes through for the fastest lap of the race, which will give him that point towards the standings. However, Neymar didn't just have enough boost through that back home straight to get past Kluslayer, as they still stack in P10 and P11 at this point.
Burmeister losing the car multiple times in this race as he tries to put the pressure on Alex Copo in front of him. Copo does not have the DRS on the back of Lord Ailem either as we head towards the first sector. Oliver leads. We know he's got to pit again on the mid-car power tyres, and we'll see where he will end up towards later in the Grand Prix. He won't pit until about lap 23, 24, so it could be a long way till we see Oliver pit. Then Mansell and Velocity Jr. will take the lead, and it's all about, can those guys catch up? Yarholm, Electro Dan, Lord Ailem, Alex Copo, can those guys catch up? We're about to find out very soon in this Grand Prix. They should be able to, with the massive tyre difference there.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're on brand new hard tyres. Obviously everyone else who pitted under the virtual safety car, they're all going to start to drop off that little bit. We're only on lap 17 or 35 as Johan comes through with the fastest lap on the race, so you can see he is pushing. He wants to get himself back up there onto that first place, onto that top step, as he's now closing in and is just over that 1 second gap between himself and P4 of Lord Brad Top G. So he's pushing, he's setting fastest laps and personal best. As he is closing and closing all the time, using advantage of those hard tyres. He's now under a second to Lord Brad the Top G there, so you can see he is pushing, he has got the pace, and he wants to be back up there as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, he knows, Johan knows this is his race to win. He needs to get past Lord by the top G as quickly as he can, because if he gets held up, especially in the middle sector, Electro Dan could be brought to zero. So Electro Dan needs to push as hard as he can, because it could be very difficult to overtake in the last 3 corners in this race and in the slow speed corners up the road. That's for Velocity Jr. and Mansell. So can Electro Dan close in? He's getting held up by the Sauber driver. Very crucial to use this time now to get himself in DRS range. If he doesn't, then unfortunately that opportunity has gone out the window. But he has got himself in DRS range as Electro Dan. Johan is right behind the Sauber. He knows this is his race to win as he pulls out to the right side with an easy overtake with the assist of new tyres and DRS, puts himself as a P4 ahead of Top G. Next target now is Velocity Jr. and Mansell, the duo just in front of us. Then Oliver's next up the road in P1, sorry, but we know he's going to pit very soon in this Grand Prix to go for the hardcore power tyres. He started he started on, it's going to be the compound tyres. As Alex Copa, Burmeister go wheel to wheel, as Burmeister has been pressurising Copa for a long time. Now, on the outside, in towards turn 2, now turn 3. Burmeister has the inside line, and he finally takes away P8. He's trying to threaten that move for such a long time, being stuck behind the Mercedes driver. Couldn't find a way past, but this time he has. Can he be set free and chase after Lord Alem in PS7?
Just watching here, Electro Dan has broken that 1 second gap towards the Sauber of Lord Brad, Top G. So he is pushing, he's wanting to keep himself there with Yarham. He's now half a second behind him, so he can use this advantage onto the pit straight, as the number 7 of the Aston Martin is closing and closing and constantly wanting to try and get that easy overtake without using as much of that tyre as he can, and just trying to save it to help pull himself towards it. He comes out around the final corner, he's going to have a nice exit there. He pulls to the right hand side slowly, he stays behind Lord Brad as much as he can. He's going to try and go around the outside, and he does, as Lord Brad has a little bit of a wiggle there in the braking. However, Electro Dan makes the move stick up into P5 now as he goes onto the attack to try and keep up and get that 1 second to Yarham there, constantly pull themselves into that front three battle.
The gap has pretty much been between 1 second and 1.5 between Yarham and Electro Dan, being very consistent. Yarham doing a really good job to stabilise the gap between himself and Electro Dan, not making any sort of mistake. Here's the Haas driver, and on his way to try and get his first win of the season after he picks up 2 as Electro Dan gets a 3-second penalty, and that could be hurting him towards the end of the Grand Prix as well. Let's see how much of effect that has towards the latter stages. But luckily for him, Top G will probably he'll probably lose. Top G will probably Electro Dan will pull away from Top G with newer tyres, so the gap will probably go over 3 seconds anyway. And Lord Adam's too far behind to make a threat about it either. So we'll see then. Does that have an effect towards the end of the Grand Prix? I'm not quite sure, but the late safety car comes out definitely after all of his hard work.
100%, yeah. It's a shame that he got that 3-second penalty. However, you can see he's almost got that 2 second gap. No, yes, no. Oh, I'm confused. I'm trying to figure out, there's too many figures on the board. However, he's pulling away from Lord Brad Top G there. So yeah, hopefully he's not hurting his tyres too much to try and close up onto Yarham. However, Yarham is now closing up onto the back of the RB, and he is getting himself into that DRS range now. So he's thinking, as there's now a train of Mansell, the RB of Veloci, and Yarham. Everyone's all bunching up now. Mansell's just struggling that little bit. I don't know whether he's pushed too hard on those tyres too soon, but we'll soon find out, as Yarham is on those fresher tyres and he's just waiting to pounce and trying to get to that pole position on that top step. As we see, Oliver now comes into the pits with 19 laps of those hard tyres. He's now going to move on to the medium tyres, hopefully, and hopefully try and push himself back up through the pack to try and get back onto that podium.
It's a double overtake. In towards turn 1 they go. Yarham makes his stick on the RB, but the RB gets a battle in his contact. All 3 of them are off into the gravel, and here comes the Aston Martin. Electro Dan takes the lead of the Grand Prix now. All 3 of them went in the grass. Where's Yarham? Demoted down the order into PA, who'll be absolutely frustrated. Major carnage, and now Veloci Elb Jr. All 3 of them make contact in the wall together. Veloci Elb Jr. stays into P2. Mansell been demoted into P4. And what on earth happened there between all 3 of them? Bishop had an adhesion there, but now Electro Dan's in first place despite 3 seconds penalty. Veloci Elb Jr. He's 3.6 seconds away. Is there anything he could do now to try and win? But Yarham, his race win is over.
Yeah, such a shame there. I think they all just tried to make that move too soon into the first corner. I don't quite know what happened. I think they all just came together and they just started to be impatient with each other, and they all thought, oh yeah, no, I'm going to make this move. Now we can go 3 wide through there. It doesn't always work, and it's just such a shame that it happened, and unfortunately for Yarham, he came out worse onto that point.
Electro Dan is in the best place now because he's in first. New tyres, I say new tyres, better tyres than the guys behind, second to fourth on 15 lap old medium compound tyres. Hard, sorry. Here comes Top G now, puts himself into P2 ahead of Velocio Jr. Top G gained massively as well, despite being quite behind. And Lord Alum is up into P4 now ahead of Madsub. And Madsub's coming back down the inside into turn 2. Oh, goodness me, man. He looked like he was about to straight line Velocio Jr. But they're going side by side. They're going side by side, sorry, in towards turn 3, going towards turn 4. Surely Mansell has to back out. There's contact made!
That's such a shame. Has he dropped down the order? No. Oh no, Mansell, contact again. Mansell lost the back end and he's lost his right hand end plate there as well. I've just noticed how close everyone is together now. All of a sudden, from all of these pit stops, everyone's all bunched up together. So Mansell, he's dropping down the order, but everyone else is all catching back up again, which is allowing Electro Dan. He's now got a nearly 6 second gap, as Neymar's got a 3 second time penalty. Everyone's making these little mistakes now. They're getting tired. Everyone's getting tired from doing the laps around this hard circuit. It's all so much concentration you got to do. As Clouser and Mindful Wasp, these guys are battling it out as well for these positions, vital points here. And yeah, it's all hotting up. Oliver with the fastest lap on those medium tyres. Where is he at the moment? He's currently in P15. Everyone's chopping and churning positions at this moment in time. It's going to be a close one to call for the rest of the podium.
This is going to help Oliver because all these guys fight so hard. He's going to get all that time and try and potentially close in the rest of them. He's at the back of the DMS trade. He's actually there. In P4, Lord Adam hits instant, keeps scaring me because on the last lap, it looked like it was about straight line the RB driver and he keeps teleporting on and off the track too. So scaring the drivers behind because I've been in a certain situation before myself where the driver was teleporting. You don't know if they're off the circuit or not, or yeah, it's unfortunate there, but that's what happens with the internet connection sometimes, especially in a different region, of course, where he's from. And where is he then? Oliver down at P14 on the medium compound tyres. He sees Johan. I bet he didn't expect to see him in this Grand Prix at all. Now he's right at the back of him in the Williams, as Johan will be absolutely frustrated. This was his race to win. Was there more contact? Saw a bit more carbon fibre off somebody's car there as the Sauber hits the back, as Kispino hit the back of Klusler, as he's in a half sandwich then. As we make our way towards the final corner, Adams in the pit lane, he lost his front wing, or his end plate, sorry, on the last lap. Burmeister's right behind Velocio Jr. Let's see what happens going down towards turn 1 we go. Burmeister now takes away P4 from Velocio Jr. A potential podium could be on course for the Williams driver. Further back, what happened to Johan? There he is, side by side. Oliver's there too on the inside. Towards turn 2, there's contact. All three of them make contact with Oliver. Sending up the inside, no room at all. And Johan puts himself into P11. Caspino got a ragdolled, unfortunately, and he's been pushed down into P13.
Yeah, everyone's just making these mistakes now. As we've got Lord Allen, he's going to have that 3 second time penalty. That's going to drop him down the order. You've also got Neymar and Mansell all with 3 second time penalties, so they've got to try and make advantage of getting themselves back up this order so they don't get hurt as much when it comes to the end of the race. However, Neymar is all over the back of the RB. He's got those fresher hard tyres by a couple of laps, not by many, but he's still got the freshest tyres, and he's trying to get himself set up ready for the overtake down onto the pit straight.
Oliver's got to be very careful, I dare say, to make these overtakes because he's going for overtakes in the most unconventional places. I know it's so tempting to go down the inside. Mindful Wasp and Mansell swap places as further in front, that's Neymar who puts himself over to P5 ahead of Velocio Jr. now, who gets pushed down to P6. Do you know what? Shout out and give credit towards the top G in P2 because he's still on those hard compound tyres, old hard compound tyres, as he pitted under VSC, and he's the only one in the trio to make this work as the rest got pushed down. So fantastic job there from top G, as he was in P4 at the time. Then he saw three people in front of him make contact up into P2. There's more places swapped there. Mansell's been pushed into P10. An absolute dismal race there for Owen Mansell, the Div 2 championship, the Div 2 champion, from last season. And it's not going well for him at all in the first two races. So 2 races to forget for Mansell. Remember, he had a slow start in Bahrain when him and Clouser made contact on a turn 10. Then he almost lost the car again at the exit of turn 7 there, as he just got on the curb, and the car said nope as it just almost bottomed out. Oliver's right behind him too. His former championship rival as well. Oliver was a real threat against Owen Mansell. Let's see if they make it clean. They're going down towards turn 12. I know Oliver and Owen are good friends. They've known each other for a long time. They've raced together for a long time, and they've also commentated with each other for a long time. So I know these two are close friends. I'm not quite sure if they're in the same party or not. Mercedes has spun, and as Copo has spun out of turn 13, unfortunately. And his racing goes bad to worse for the Mercedes driver, who was doing really well in the early stages, as Burmeister's right behind Lord Adam going down towards turn 1. Despite struggling in the early stages, Mindful Wasp is up to P6. Do you know what? Great drive from Mindful Wasp. Remember, he started down to P17. Now he's up into P6 then, with a few people in front of us picking up penalties along the way. So Mindful Wasp, despite being very stale and quiet in this Grand Prix, is up into P6 and looking on course for a decent result out here. Electro Dan is going to win this Grand Prix. The last thing he needs, this man, in the Aston Martin is a safety car, because if that comes out, the rest of the field will be bunched up and his lead will be wiped out. Oh no! Somebody spun, and I hope I haven't jinxed myself there. No, luckily not. That was Joachim.
I think it is. Yeah. Joachim's just, I think he just lost the back end of the car there and just had a couple of cars go past him. But yeah, no, Electro Danny, he's had an absolute fly of a race. He's kept his nose clean. He's just made sure that he's not got caught up in any contact with any of the cars, and hopefully he can keep himself up there and ensure that he doesn't catch any more penalties.
Yeah, the gap is 8.4 seconds. The benefit that Lord Brad the top G is on older hardcore power tyres, so definitely not reduce the gap. But the battle for P2 is spicy between Lord Adam Burmeister and Lord Brad the top G. As we see Lord Adam then go down the inside in towards turn 1. There's contact and Burmeister comes through. Through goes Burmeister, but also up into P2 now. Not yet, because Lord Adam's still there. As Burmeister goes up into second place ahead of the two of them, as the track opened up for him, like Esteban Ocon back in 2021 when the rest of the cars the rest of the cars spun around. As Joachim goes for another spin, back to his old ways. I'm only joking, Joachim. But yeah, as we head down towards turn 4 then, very close between these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's just trying to keep themselves together. They're going to try and take as much advantage as they can of everyone on the older tyres, like Lord Brad Top G. And just try and keep their noses clean again for the rest of the race and keep pushing and try and get ahead of those who's got penalties and make sure they don't get penalties themselves.
Top G made a massive mistake at turn 11, lost the back end of the car, and Neymar is up to P4. Top G does not fight that, knowing it's a lost battle from all the hardcore battle tyres, so he did a really good job trying to defend. As Joachim now picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. This race, it looks like it was his to win, the way this race was going, but unfortunately got caught up with people on the older tyres, and now has to pay the price down to P15. Absolutely furious, because sometimes when it's in the script for you to win a Grand Prix, when everything going your way, then all of a sudden people on all the tyres make contact with you. It's just a shame, really, because all your hard work is undone. Kloosler is ahead of Mansell, puts himself now up to P9, ahead of the Aston Martin driver, who's coming back as we head down towards turn 2. We go. Mansell might be driving a bit frustrated then, knowing a potential podium could have been on the cards, but I think he's lost his head a little bit, I dare say.
Possibly, yeah, I understand. However, he should be on for a top 10, because all the other drivers behind him now have also got penalties. So as long as he stays ahead of them, then he'll be on for a top 10. As he cuts the chicane, as Caspino pushes him wide there, so that is now off of, unfortunately, for not a P10 unless he can claw himself back, as Mills here has a 3-second time penalty as well.
A shame for Mills. Both Ferrari drivers down there in P12 and P14. Oliver is in P8 right now. I've got to tell you as well that the hard speed strategy unfortunately does not work, and the reason being because when the medium compound tyres get old, they start to slide around. Even on the Ulster strategy, when you think that towards the last stage of the Grand Prix, as a move's being made down towards turn 1, that's Neymar up the inside of Lord Aylan. Remember, those two have a 3-second penalty, so I'm not quite sure who might end up on the podium here. Potentially Lord by the top G in P6, but the problem is for the Sauber driver. He's on much older tyres, of course, and we've seen him drop down the order. Velocity Jr. is right behind him again in P7. Oliver could be on course for a podium, maybe. Up towards P3, watch out for him. I said the Ulster strategy doesn't really work, but I still stick by my point.
Yeah, it's not all lost. Anything can happen. There's still 6 laps of the race left to go. Yeah, so it's still anybody's race to get onto the podium, as Yaham has a 10 seconds time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He has also retired as well. So it's just unfortunate there for what was meant to be his race win has come to an end, unfortunately, and he will not be scoring any points today.
So watch out for Oliver down at PA. He does not have a 3-second time. So the 2 drivers in front of him on much older hardcore powered tyres, and after he dispatches those 2, next target is Mindful Wasp. Mindful Wasp is running a decent race in P5, considering where he started in P17. Now Oliver is on the back of the RB driver, who's derating down the straight, flashing down the back of the RB, but he goes defensive on the inside. Oliver surely has a better exit at the exit of turn 1, just planning his overtake, being very careful on the throttle there. Now, left or right?
Adams is retired as well, sorry.
He retires in the pit lane. It goes side by side in towards turn 2. But Oliver can't make the move stick as he stays behind Velocio Jr. There is 5 laps left to go. Oliver has got to find a way past easily, surely you think, on those newer mediums compared to the older hardcore power tyres. He goes off the track. He just needs to plan his moves at the right time and not make any sort of silly mistakes, because the podium is right there in front of his grasp.
100%, yeah. He can't go that wide too many more times, obviously, because I think he will have a few warnings. However, he has got to try and get ahead of that RB if he just wants to try and make his chances higher for him to get onto that podium.
5 laps left to go in this race. Can Oliver find a way past Velocio Jr.? Velocio Jr. is almost at DRS range of top G, so that might assist Oliver a little bit, because he won't have DRS on the back of the RB driver, the Sauber driver, as we exit now the final corner. He is out of DRS range, so Oliver, this should be the time to attack now on the RB. He's vulnerable, defenseless on all tyres, no DRS of course. He's derated again as we head towards turn 1. Both RBs swap places. Oliver is up into P7. Next target now is Top G. Goes a bit wider towards turn 1, but collects it up, scoops it up. DRS enabled for him as both Alpines once again swap places, and Lord Alan puts himself back into P4 ahead of Mindful Wasp.
Yeah, just watching them to chop and change positions there, trying to get themselves into what they can, as they both have the 3-second time penalties. However, they want to try and get as many points for Alpine as possible, as well as themselves. As we do see Pravelli there in the chat cheering on Atlas Coppo. Atlas Coppo, he's had a good race. He's doing well. It's just unfortunate with how it's sort of been going. As you can see, Mansell's dropped down into P12 as well. I think he's just sort of struggling. Don't know whether he's got a bit of damage there as well. Everyone's just sort of struggling here. It's one of those tracks you either absolutely nail it, as you can see there with Electro Dan nailing it up there in P1 at this point in time, with over of a 7-second time gap to Burmeister. Burmeister should have P2 there comfortably in the bag, but it's just a reminder of who gets P3, as Oliver now gets Lord Brad Top G. So again, he is on for that podium place if he can try and make it stick, as we see Zin on there having a bit of an incident on turn 1 there. So it could be anyone's game for P3 on the podium.
I'm not sure if Oliver will get a P3, because Neymar's put a big gap over Mindful Wasp and Lord Alam. So Oliver needs to find a bit more pace if he wants to close the deficit, to get that gap under 3 seconds at least between himself and Neymar. So the battle for the podium is between Neymar and Oliver. Which one of those two will get it, because they'll score their first podium of the season with the Mercedes and Oliver Williams driver. But we'll see which one of those two will finish in 3rd place. Burmeister with another great result again. Very consistent, it seems, for Burmeister. A great strong start to the season. He won at the Mexican Grand Prix last time out, and now he's going to be finishing P2 unless something dramatic happens towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix. He's definitely closed down the gap between himself and Electro Dan, but I don't think he'll catch him, especially get that gap under 3 seconds. And now Caspino goes for a spin. It goes for about to worse. I'm not quite sure if those two made contact there, Mansell and Caspino, as they were close together on the circuit.
I wasn't really watching those guys at that point, but they possibly might have had a bit of a little tap together. However, it hasn't affected Caspina as much, as he's still got DRS there against Mansell.
3 laps left to go in this race. Electro Dan's on course to win this Grand Prix, but Burmeister is bringing that gap down, pushing as hard as he can, just in case if Electro Dan gets himself another 3 second time, that'll be 6 seconds. So Electro Dan there just needs to keep it nice clean towards the last 3 laps. There's no need to push too hard or risk picking up channel violations as well. And Oliver, he has to push hard to get that gap under 3 seconds between himself and Neymar. And so far, he hasn't done it. I think Neymar will finish in P3, so I think... yeah, Oliver's charge now on the all-media cup tyres and starts to come to an end.
Yeah, I think the hard tyres there are just starting to wear that little bit more now. And they are just starting to struggle. As I'm having a quick look, I can't see any more warnings for Electro Dan. So he should have another 3 warnings before he gets another 3 second time penalty. So like you say, he should just try and keep it clean now, and carry on and have an absolute flyer of a race, in which he already is.
2 laps left to go in this race. Both Ferraris are pitted for the fastest lap. Which one of the 2 Ferrari boys would get it? Just for a consolation point. Ever since that first lap, they both got taken out of contention, and both Ferraris were looking to change their fortune in this race, but unfortunately, just can't see it catch a break and see them in the mills. Just even if it's not their own fault, something else happens as well. But actually, Neymar putting pressure on Burmeister. He has got some pace in the Mercedes, and he's brought the gap down to like 2 seconds now in the DRS race. So Burmeister's under pressure, but it won't really matter because Burmeister hasn't got a penalty. So we'll see if Neymar gets past him on the track for P2 for Pride, but if he doesn't, it doesn't matter anyway. He will finish on the podium. As long as that Neymar doesn't make any mistakes against Burmeister, he can't afford to fight him too hard because now he knows that Oliver will be there to pick up the pieces. But the gap's 3 seconds behind, so I don't think he's got anything to worry about with Oliver in P6. Great drive from Neymar in P3 on the older hard compound tyres, of course, but here we are on the final lap of this race.
Yeah, Electro Danny's having an absolute fly of a race. He's kept himself clean. He's made sure he doesn't make many mistakes. Obviously, he's got that 1 3 second time penalty. However, since that collision with Yaham, Mansell, and I can't remember who else it was, he's just kept himself clean. He's kept himself consistent. As he comes through into Sector 2 now, he's still got just under a 6 second lead now. Comes through the chicane for the final time, coming up towards round the last few couple of corners of the circuit as he comes round towards the final back straight now. Coming up towards the pit lane entry in a second. So he's got 2 more corners to go as he comes up. Go on, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, because Electro Dan, around the final corner he goes, and the checker flag will be in his sides. He had 1 victory last season. He can add another victory on his tally here in Hungary. Electro Dan comes across the line to win the Hungarian Grand Prix. What a fantastic drive. He kept himself out of trouble. I think the only driver kept himself out of trouble. Even though his 3 second penalty was in his shoulders, he's still got the gap over Burmeister to finish in P2. Neymar does get a podium. Great result from him in P3. Michael Watson P4 ahead of Oliver in 5th place. Lord Alem in 6th ahead of Top G. Veloci Air Jr. in 8th ahead of Ascopo, Kluster, Mansell, Caspino, and the 2 Ferrari boys, and the 3 people that retired, Adams, Joachim, and Martin down the P17 there. But what a stunning drive from Adams in 1st place, despite not having the pace to compete with Joachim. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck on your side to get up there, and he did keep it clean throughout the whole race at great pace, and that's what won him the Grand Prix as well. Sometimes luck needs to be on your side to win in F1.
Absolutely, 100%. Obviously, some of the drivers didn't have the look that they wanted to. However, Electro Dan had the look as he does get his first win of the season. Is this a sign for many more for him to come, as Manfred Wash does get driver of the day?
Definitely, he was a real competitor last season. Scored 1 podium, 1 win, and a few podiums last season. So definitely one to keep an eye out for. He's always got some mega pace as Electro Dan, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future as well. As we'll see, Electro Dan on the podium. Even though it's the Aston Martin driver, Mansell will be happy, of course, with the brand new teammate in Aston Martin, with Electro Dan taking the glory away from him, as this time it is Electro Dan, his teammate, who wins for the Aston Martin camp.
Yeah, do you want me to
Just
get some of the drivers in? Or?
Just if I let you down, I don't want to speak
just
to.
let you down.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, but I can't talk.
Yeah, no, you're all good. I just thought to double check with you.
I'm sorry, Neymar. I know it's your first podium of the season, but I'm dying out here, mate. Thank you as well for everybody that's been tuning in. Is this race? It's been an absolute pleasure to have you for company, as hopefully Electro Dan does join the podium interviews and we get to hear from him. Electro Dan, of course, a returning driver after a few seasons. There's not a stranger to SFR at all.
I was going to say, I've just invited him, so hopefully he should be joining us any second there.
If it doesn't, it'll make my life easier and I can end the stream. Please don't join, please don't join. No, I'm only joking. I can't, yes, he can't join interviews, thank God for that. I can't join interviews, I've been naughty, got banned from parties. Come on, Electro Dan, are you serious right now? But yeah, thank you, Electro Dan. So we can write it off there then. Simo, thank you so much for commentating me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure of our first race back since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix together, and hopefully we can enjoy some more entertaining action here. Definitely a race to remember as well, full of action, unexpected outcomes as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's been absolutely an honour to be commentating with you again, and hopefully we can have many more fun-packed races for the rest of this season. And on to the next round, in which I believe is Imola. So hopefully can we see Electro Dan back up there again. Hopefully can Burmaster get his pace back up there, and can Yaham continue his pace and hopefully have a better race than what he did today.
Exactly. I'm sorry, Neymar. By the way, I am very ill and I only want to talk to one person, so I haven't got the voice left for it, unfortunately, so I'm very sorry, Neymar. I know you might be a bit disappointed, frustrated, but congratulations on your first podium this season, mate. Fantastic drive from you, and hopefully we can see more of this as well in the next couple of races, especially the Imola Grand Prix. 17 race calendar, and the United Kingdom at Silverstone is the last race of the season, like it was last season in Division 1, thanks to the Spain versus England semi-final. But join me and Ari Manso back for Division 1 at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it was Laser Lord who won the Hungarian Grand Prix for his first only win last season. Hopefully he can increase that tally, because he has been struggling in the last few races, but we'll see what happens going in towards tomorrow's race. I can't wait, and we'll see you all later. Goodbye for now. Join Charlie and Oliver back for Div 3 and Div 4 in Imola on Monday. Join me and Simo for the Imola Grand Prix at 7:30 for Div 2. Me and Owen Mads are back for tomorrow and next week on Wednesday at 7:30 at the Imola and Hungarian Grand Prix. See you all later. Goodbye for now. Take care.